Hey guys, Dennis here, and this is my last market update for 2024. It's been an absolutely wild ride. I've had lots of fun. If you guys have been following my updates, thank you very much. I always appreciate all the comments, likes, shares, everything that I get. So thank you guys. I hope I've kept you up to date and you've learned a few things along the way. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can follow me as well. I'm also on TikTok now, believe it or not. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. And I'm going to try to put out different content for each of those platforms. So you're going to see more long form format on YouTube and, short little quick updates on Instagram, for example. So yeah, follow me on those channels. And thanks again for your support. It's been a pretty wild year. It's been a wild few years since the pandemic hit, to be honest. But have a look at this chart. This is going back to 2022. This is the home price index for all property types across Metro Vancouver. And this literally looks like a roller coaster. And that's basically what we've been going through. The market goes up, it goes down, it goes back up again, it goes back down again. It's been a wild ride. And I think 2024 there's going to be lots coming down. And we're going to talk about that in a bit of what my predictions are and what stories we're going to follow in 2024. But first, I want to have a look at 2023 and kind of talk about what the market's been doing. Obviously, the biggest story that we've been following for the whole year has been interest rates. And I'm getting tired of talking about it, but that's really what everyone's been paying attention to. If you put on the news, it's on pretty much every day. Everyone's glued to their TVs, and it's not just in housing. It's in the equities markets and around the world. Basically, everyone's trying to follow this story: inflation and interest rates. So, back in 2020 and 2021, the prime rate was sitting at around 2.45%, and it sat there for quite a while, and then it shot up to 7.2% in a very short amount of time. Now, this has had a huge impact on a lot of people. If you're in a variable mortgage, you're getting squeezed. There's no doubt about it. I know a lot of people, when I go to parties, it's the first thing people ask me is like, I'm on a variable mortgage. What can I expect for 2024? And the good news is that the Fed in the States has held the rate here, and they just made that announcement a couple days ago where they held it again. They're not ready to lower the rate yet, but they are basically saying that they're not going to raise it anymore. So that's a really good indicator that they're going to hold it here for a little while longer until inflation gets more under control. But all signs are pointing to some relief in 2024. So that's great news for all my clients on variable mortgages. I myself am on variable. If I could turn back time and get a fixed rate, I'm sure I would have. But it'll be interesting to follow the story and then do the math after everything. In 5 years, once everything's back to normal, and see, was it better to go with a fixed or a variable? Right now it's really tough if you're on a variable, but it could go back down again. You might actually end up coming out ahead in the long run. So we're going to follow that and see how the math plays out on it. Let's talk about what's coming up in. Actually, before we do that, I want to talk about what's coming up in 2024 top stories. But I want to look first at some of the biggest winners and losers for markets in 2023. So let's have a look. So overall, the Lower Mainland was up 4.5%. Now, 4.5% is pretty low for Vancouver. Generally, in Greater Vancouver, we've gotten used to sort of a 10% annual return. Now, considering where interest rates went and how they shot up so fast and where they are right now, I think a gain of 4.5% is pretty outstanding. So let's look at some specific sectors, you guys. I want to see who are the biggest winners and who are the biggest losers. Now, the biggest winners we had, so just for the baseline, we know Lower Mainland up 4.5%. If we look in detached, the biggest winner was Vancouver West. So Vancouver West went up 9.8%. So almost near that 10% mark, which is the average. So great job for Vancouver West. If we look at townhomes, Whistler was the biggest winner at 14.4%. So Whistler, congratulations. Townhomes in Whistler going up 14.4% in 1 year. Fantastic. And condos, again, Whistler, the big winner here. Whistler condos went up 31.7%, if you can believe it. So 1 year increased 31%. That's insane. Now let's look at, actually I have some honorable mentions for condos as well, because we had a couple other winners that were pretty close to that Whistler mark. Squamish gets an honorable mention at 27.2%, and Sunshine Coast up 26.1%. So Whistler, Squamish, Sunshine Coast, biggest winners in condo market. So let's look at some of the biggest losers. We had detached. Whistler actually was the biggest loser at 4.7% drop. So they were down 4.7%. Now it's really interesting because Whistler had the biggest increase in townhomes and condos, but for some reason the detached market in Whistler went down 4.7%. I'm not sure why. I have some theories, but if you know what's happening in Whistler, I don't really spend a lot of time out there and I don't work in that market too much. So, give me a call because I'd love to know what is happening in Whistler. Let's look at townhomes. Biggest loser in townhomes was Pitt Meadows. So if you own a townhome in Pitt Meadows, I'm sorry, but your market, the value of your home dropped 0.6% last year. And last but not least, the biggest loser in the condo market is West Vancouver, down 1.1%. So let's look at some of the top stories we're going to be following in 2024. Now, I think there's really four kind of main stories that we need to follow that are going to have a huge impact on the market. The first one is Airbnb. Now, the province of British Columbia is going to be cracking down on Airbnb rentals if it's not your primary residence. They don't want people buying units and just buying them specifically to Airbnb them out. So they're going to start cracking down on that, which means that if you had purchased a condo, for example, and you were using that as an Airbnb only, you now have to put in a long-term tenant or sell that unit. And I have a suspicion that many people are going to sell their units because, the math just isn't there. The return on your investment isn't quite there. You don't get as much for a long-term tenant as you do for Airbnb. So we should see an influx of properties hitting the market. Probably, I think this comes into effect May of next year. So I think probably, February, March, April, we should start to see a few of those Airbnb properties hitting the market. Now, the next story is Vancouver zoning. So the city of Vancouver is trying to create more housing. So they're going to change the zoning for single family detached homes. Now, what they're going to do basically is where there's a zoning specifically for single family detached, they are going to allow 3 to 4 units to be built there, and as many as 6 units if it's near a bus stop or frequent transit service. So single family, where there's currently just a one single family home zone, you could see up to 6 units being built there. That's going to have a massive impact on the Vancouver landscape and on the housing market. So it's going to be really interesting to follow. I think there's going to be it's not going to be a smooth transition, to be honest. There's going to be some bumps and hurdles as we figure it out along the way. But it's going to be a really interesting story to follow. So let's keep an eye on that. Now, as part of the new zoning initiative, the BC government is planning to create 10 standardized home designs, which are going to be used for property, or they can be used by property owners, builders, and local governments. Now, these are basically off-the-shelf standard designs that are small-scale, multi-unit homes. So it's townhouses, triplexes, and laneway homes. So that when people, let's say you buy that single family house that needs to be torn down, you can basically pick these pre-approved designs that you can put in a multiplex on your property. So that's going to speed things up basically, because you don't have to go through all the red tape. So it should speed things along. They're supposedly going to be relatively cheap to build. So it should make property cheaper to build and quicker to build, which is what the government wants. Now, the other story, so we've got Airbnb, Vancouver zoning, standardized homes, and the last one, of course, interest rates are going to be a big story for 2024. Everybody's watching at the edge of their seat, waiting for those rates to come down. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So fingers crossed that it does happen sooner rather than later. So there you go, you guys. We got some pretty interesting stuff coming in 2024. It's going to have a huge impact on the market. What it does, I don't know yet. Let's keep an eye on it and see what happens. But I want to say thank you guys for listening to this. If you find it helpful, please, send me a comment, shoot me a text, whatever. If there's something you guys want me to talk about as well, you want to learn about something, just shoot me over a message, and I'm happy to tailor a video to that. Because ultimately these videos are for you guys. I want you guys to learn, and hopefully you find them helpful. Yeah, I mean, that's really my goal here. So thanks again for listening. Happy holidays. All the best in 2024. I wish you guys all, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.